Welcome to Cheaters Theater. Over 95% of you watch without subscribing. Please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell. And tell us, where are you watching from? We'd love to know. Let's begin. Owen Barrett wiped sweat from his brow as he inspected the foundation of his latest construction project. At 38, his weathered hands bore the calluses of a man who had built everything he owned from the ground up. The afternoon sun beat down on the Denver construction site as his phone buzzed in his pocket. "Barrett Builders," he answered, his voice carrying the natural authority that had earned him respect throughout Colorado's building industry. "Owen, we need to finalize the anniversary plans." Lauren's voice came through, a hint of impatience coloring her tone. 16 years deserves something special. Owen sighed, looking across the skyline at the buildings he'd helped create. "I thought we settled this. Your family's cabin. Just us and the kids. I was thinking maybe we could drop the kids at my sister's. Make it romantic." There was something in her voice that made Owen pause. After 16 years of marriage, he had developed a sixth sense about Lauren. Something wasn't right. "The kids are coming," he said firmly. "Grace has been looking forward to this for weeks. And no one needs time away from those video games." A beat of silence. "Fine. I'll pack for 4. After hanging up, Owen couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Lauren had changed over the past year. Subtle shifts in behavior that individually meant nothing, but together formed a pattern he couldn't ignore. New clothes, late book club meetings, unexplained absences, and a growing emotional distance. That evening, Owen arrived home to their upscale Washington Park neighborhood house, a home he had partially built himself. Through the window, he saw Lauren on the phone in the kitchen, her back turned. She was laughing, a genuine laugh he rarely heard anymore. When she spotted his truck in the driveway, she quickly ended the call. "Who was that?" he asked casually, setting his keys on the counter. "Megan, going over some details for when we get back from the cabin," Lauren replied, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. At 37, she still turned heads with her fitness model physique and calculated style. Owen nodded, not pushing despite the lie. Megan was in Steamboat Springs this week. He knew because he'd spoken to her husband, Tyler, about a potential renovation job just hours earlier. He found Grace in her room, meticulously organizing her small backpack for the trip. His daughter glanced up with serious brown eyes, so like his own. Sometimes Owen felt she saw everything. "Daddy, can we go fishing at the cabin like last time?" she asked. "Absolutely, princess. Just you and me at dawn like always." He ruffled her hair, noticing a drawing on her desk. It showed 4 stick figures standing together, but with a 5th figure drawn faintly in the background. When he asked about it, Grace shrugged and quickly put it away. Noah's door was closed, the telltale sounds of his gaming headset filtering through. At 13, his son had begun pulling away, spending more time with Lauren, adopting her materialistic values. Owen knocked but received only a grunt in response. That night, Owen lay awake beside Lauren, watching as she scrolled through her phone with a small smile playing on her lips. When she noticed his gaze, she quickly set the phone face down. "What?" she asked defensively. "Nothing," Owen replied. "Just thinking about the cabin. Been a while since we were all there together." She murmured noncommittally, turning away from him. The next morning, while loading the SUV for their 2.5-hour drive to the remote cabin near Shadow Mountain Lake, Owen noticed Lauren making a brief call from the garage, her voice hushed. When she returned, she seemed distracted, checking her phone repeatedly. Grace watched everything with quiet intensity, sticking close to her father. During a moment alone, while Lauren was doing a final house check, Grace whispered, "Dad, I don't think Mom wants to go to the cabin. Why is that soft?" She told someone on the phone it was a complication. Grace's eyes, too perceptive for her age, held a question Owen wasn't ready to answer. The drive into the mountains was tense. Noah remained plugged into his devices in the back seat, while Lauren kept checking her phone despite the spotty service. Owen drove silently, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, cataloging every detail, every suspicious glance at the passing mile markers. What bothered Owen most wasn't just the possibility of betrayal. It was the realization that his carefully constructed life might be built on a foundation as unstable as wet sand. The winding mountain roads grew narrower as Owen's SUV climbed toward Shadow Mountain Lake. Lauren had grown increasingly agitated as cell service became intermittent, checking her phone compulsively at every curve. Maybe we should have gone to Cancun instead, she said, breaking nearly an hour of silence. This place is so isolated. Owen's eyes flickered to the rearview mirror. That's the point of a getaway, isn't it? To disconnect. In the back seat, Grace met her father's gaze in the mirror, a silent communication passing between them. She had been unusually quiet, her small notebook in her lap, where she'd been scribbling instead of playing her usual card games. Noah removed one earbud. How much longer? I'm starving. About 45 minutes, Owen replied. We'll stop at the general store first. Stock up before heading to the cabin. Lauren's phone chimed with a text. A brief moment of service. Her reaction was subtle but unmistakable. A quick intake of breath, a flush creeping up her neck, fingers moving rapidly to reply before the signal disappeared again. Work? Owen asked casually. Megan, Lauren lied smoothly, making sure we arrived safely. The family stopped at Pine Ridge General Store, the last outpost before the remote cabin, while Lauren shopped for groceries with Noah. Owen checked their fishing gear outside the store. Grace approached, glancing around to ensure they were alone. Dad, she whispered. I need to tell you something. Owen crouched to her level. What is it, princess? Grace's eyes darted toward the store. Mom has another phone. I saw her hiding it in her toiletry bag. A cold weight settled in Owen's stomach. You sure about that? Grace nodded solemnly. She doesn't know I saw. She uses it when she thinks no one's watching. Before Owen could probe further, Lauren and Noah emerged from the store with grocery bags. The conversation halted, but the seed had been planted. As they continued toward the cabin, Owen's mind raced with possibilities, none of them innocent. The Hendricks family cabin sat nestled among tall pines overlooking a serene lake. Originally a modest structure built by Lauren's grandfather, Owen had spent 3 summers renovating it into a comfortable retreat with modern amenities while preserving its rustic charm. It represented countless hours of his labor, a gift of love to a family he now suspected was fracturing. After unloading the SUV, Owen announced, Noah, help me check the generator and water pump. Grace, you and Mom can get the beds made. Lauren frowned. Actually, I should start dinner. Grace can handle the beds. In the utility shed, Owen tried engaging with his son. How's school going? Still having trouble with algebra? Noah shrugged, barely looking up from his phone despite the lack of service. You know, there's more to life than that screen, Owen said, checking the generator oil. When I was your age, yeah, I know, Noah interrupted. You were building houses and working 2 jobs. We've heard it. The disrespect stung, but Owen recognized a deeper issue. Everything okay between you and your mom lately? Noah stiffened. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just asking. Mom's cool. She gets me, Noah muttered. Unlike some people. Owen let the comment slide, focusing instead on the task at hand while processing what this might mean. Had Lauren been turning their son against him? What else didn't he know? Dinner was a strained affair. Lauren seemed preoccupied, her attention divided between picking at her food and glancing out the window toward the lake. Owen noticed her check her watch several times. Early appointment tomorrow? He asked pointedly. What? No, Lauren replied too quickly. Just thinking we should watch the sunset by the lake after dinner. Great idea. Owen agreed, watching her face fall slightly. Family tradition, right kids? Noah groaned, but Grace's eyes lit up. Can we make s'mores, too? As they cleared the table, Grace maneuvered close to her father, slipping a folded piece of paper into his hand. Their eyes met briefly before she turned to help Lauren with the dishes. Owen waited until he stepped outside onto the porch to unfold the note. In Grace's careful handwriting were 6 words that confirmed his worst fears. Dad, turn around now. Mom's lying. Owen's training kicked in. Assess, plan, execute. He needed evidence before confrontation. He folded the note carefully into his pocket and rejoined his family, a calm mask concealing the storm within. Think I left the fishing gear in the car, he announced. Going to grab it before dark. Outside, Owen circled back to peer through the cabin window. Lauren was checking her watch again, her expression anxious. He watched as she told Grace and Noah she needed to use the bathroom, then slipped upstairs with her toiletry bag. Owen made his decision. Grace, he called through the screen door. Want to help me find the tackle box? His daughter was at his side in seconds. Once they were alone by the SUV, Owen knelt down. I need you to be honest with me. What else do you know? Grace's eyes welled with tears. Mom's planning something bad. I heard her talking to someone about meeting at the cabin. She didn't know I was listening. When was this? Yesterday. She said the cabin was perfect because you'd never suspect. Grace hesitated. Dad, there's more. I found text messages on her secret phone. She accidentally left it in the bathroom. It said they were going to tell you this weekend. Owen's heart hammered in his chest. Tell me what that she's leaving with him? The betrayal cut deep, but Owen maintained his composure for his daughter's sake. Grace, I need a favor, a big one. Can you help me? She nodded without hesitation. I'm going to say we need to drive back to town for something I forgot. I need you to find that phone and bring it to me. Can you do that? It's in her blue toiletry bag, the small zipper pocket, Grace whispered. I already checked. Owen stared at his daughter, impressed by her resourcefulness and saddened that she'd been burdened with this knowledge. How long have you known? For months, Grace admitted. I tried to tell you, but you always said Mom was just busy with her new job. The realization that his 10-year-old had been carrying this secret alone filled Owen with both guilt and resolve. I'm sorry, Princess, but that ends today. Back inside the cabin, Owen announced they needed to make a run to the general store for propane. The tank's almost empty. Won't last the weekend. Can it wait until morning? Lauren asked, clearly annoyed. Better safe than sorry with the night temperatures dropping, Owen insisted. Grace, want to come along for the ride? As they prepared to leave, Grace disappeared upstairs to use the bathroom. Minutes later, she emerged, giving her father an almost imperceptible nod. The drive back down the mountain was silent until they were well away from the cabin. Owen pulled into the empty parking lot of a scenic overlook. Let me see it, he said quietly. Grace reached into her pocket and withdrew a small burner phone. I'm sorry, Dad. You have nothing to be sorry for, Owen assured her, taking the phone. You did exactly right. My wife wanted to celebrate our anniversary at her family's remote cabin. On the drive there, my 10-year-old daughter passed me a note. It said, Dad, turn around now. I made an excuse to stop. In the gas station bathroom, she showed me Mom's other phone, and what I saw made me sick. The bathroom of the Pine Ridge gas station smelled of pine cleaner and neglect. Owen locked the door behind them, his hands steady despite the earthquake happening inside him. Grace stood watch by the sink as he turned on the burner phone. No password. Lauren hadn't expected anyone to find it. The text messages loaded, revealing months of conversation between Lauren and someone saved simply as T. Owen scrolled through rapidly, each message a knife twist. Miss you already. For more days until freedom. Are you sure he doesn't suspect? Owen's clueless. Too busy with his precious business to notice anything. What about the kids? Noah will adjust. Grace might be a problem. Too attached to her father. The most recent messages outlined their plan. Tyler Hendricks, Lauren's brother-in-law and Megan's husband, would arrive at the cabin tomorrow night, while Owen took the kids fishing. They would confront Owen together, tell him about their 3-year relationship, and announce they were leaving together. They'd already secured an apartment in Phoenix. Tyler, his wife's sister's husband, a man who had sat at their dinner table, played with their children, accepted Owen's help with renovating his own home. The betrayal was exponential. Dad, Grace's small voice broke through his shock. Are you okay? Owen composed himself, shielding his daughter from the depths of his rage. I'm fine, Princess. You did good. What are we going to do? Owen considered their options. The tactical part of his brain, honed during his years as a Marine before building his construction empire, was already formulating a response. But first, he needed more information. We're going to get some ice cream, he said calmly, pocketing the phone, and make a plan. At the small diner adjacent to the gas station, Owen bought Grace a sundae while he made 2 calls from his own phone, stepping outside briefly. When he returned, his expression was controlled, revealing nothing of the storm within. Grace, I need you to be brave a little longer, he said, sliding into the booth. We're going back to the cabin, and we're going to act like nothing's wrong. But Mom and Uncle Tyler dash. I know, but sometimes in life, you need to gather all the facts before you act. Owen leaned forward. This is important. Can you trust me? Grace nodded, her spoon pausing midway to her mouth. Are you and Mom getting divorced? The question hit him like a physical blow. I don't know yet, but no matter what, you and Noah will always be my priority. Understand? Back at the cabin, Lauren was pacing the living room. What took so long? I was about to call Dash, she stopped, realizing the absurdity of the statement with no cell service. Line at the store, Owen lied smoothly. Had to wait for them to bring more propane from the back. That night, Owen lay awake beside his wife, listening to her breathing, wondering how many nights she'd lain beside him, thinking of another man. The woman he'd built his life around, the mother of his children, was a stranger. The burner phone now hidden in his fishing tackle box contained not just texts but photos. Personal photos, evidence of private meetups in hotels while Owen thought Lauren was at client meetings for her boutique marketing job. Plans for their new life using money from their joint accounts. Morning brought forced normalcy. Owen suggested taking the kids fishing at dawn as planned, but Lauren suddenly insisted on joining them, something she'd never done before. Since when do you fish? Owen asked, raising an eyebrow as he prepared the gear. It's our anniversary weekend. I want to try new things, she replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Owen recognized the tactic. She was buying time, preventing him from being alone with the kids. As they walked to the lake, Grace stayed close to her father. Noah trudged ahead, still sullen, but at least away from his devices. Owen noted Lauren checking her watch again. Expecting someone? He asked casually. Her head snapped up. What? No, just checking how much daylight we have. The fishing expedition was cut short when Lauren claimed a headache. Back at the cabin, Owen watched as she took 2 aspirin, then retreated upstairs to rest, but not before checking her hidden pocket where the burner phone should have been. Her momentary panic was visible only to Owen, who was watching for it. Kids, why don't you explore the trails a bit? Stay within shouting distance, Owen suggested. Once they were gone and Lauren was upstairs, he made another call, keeping his voice low. Erica Hale, it's Owen Barrett. I need that information now. Yes, all of it. Erica Hale, a private investigator Owen had hired after Grace's revelation at the gas station, confirmed what the phone had suggested. The relationship had been ongoing for 3 years. Tyler had been embezzling from his financial consulting firm to fund their planned escape. Most devastating was the discovery that Noah knew not everything, but enough. Lauren had been priming him, telling him that Owen was controlling, that they deserved better. When the kids returned from their hike, Owen pulled Noah aside. Son, we need to talk. Noah's defiance was immediate. About what? About why you've been so angry with me. About what Mom has told you. The boy's face paled. She didn't tell me anything. Noah, Owen said firmly, I know about Tyler. I know Mom's been talking to you about leaving. Tears filled the boy's eyes. She said you try to keep us, that you take everything from her. Owen controlled his anger. Has your mother ever known me to be unfair? To be cruel? Noah looked away. No. I built this family with everything I have. I would never abandon you or your sister. Owen placed his hands on his son's shoulders. But I need the truth. All of it. Slowly, Noah revealed what he knew. Lauren had told him they would be starting fresh with Tyler, who would be a better match for their family. She'd promised Noah a new school where he could reinvent himself, free from his reputation as the contractor's son. Did she say when this was happening? Owen asked. After this trip, Noah admitted. She said, we should enjoy one last weekend as a family for memories. The sheer calculation of it all hardened Owen's resolve. His wife and her partner had plotted not just to destroy his marriage, but to take his children and drain him in the process. As evening approached, Owen noticed Lauren growing increasingly anxious, checking out the window toward the long driveway. She'd changed into a new outfit, applied makeup, and opened wine, setting the stage. Kids, time for a movie in the loft, Owen announced, giving them a significant look. Big screen, popcorn, the works. Once they were upstairs, Owen poured himself a glass of whiskey and sat opposite his wife at the kitchen table. 16 years, he said quietly. 16 years, Lauren. She set down her wine glass. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know. Owen's voice was controlled, dangerous in its restraint. I know about Tyler. I know about Phoenix. I know about the money you've been moving from our accounts. Lauren's face cycled through shock, denial, and finally cold calculation. How long have you known? Long enough. The sound of tires on gravel interrupted them. Headlights swept across the cabin windows as a vehicle approached. Perfect timing, Owen said, taking another sip of whiskey. Right on schedule. Lauren stood abruptly. Owen, Let me explain, Dash. Save it for the attorneys. He cut her off. But first, let's welcome our guest, shall we? The headlights illuminated the cabin windows as Tyler's Audi Q7 pulled up outside. Lauren's eyes darted between Owen and the door, panic rising in her expression. Owen, please, she started. Please what? His voice remained unnervingly calm. Please don't make a scene. Please let you dismantle our family quietly. A knock at the door, 3 confident raps. Owen stood, straightening his shoulders. Should I get that, or would you prefer to welcome your partner yourself? The color drained from Lauren's face. The kids, Dash, are upstairs watching a movie with headphones on. All part of the plan, right? Owen moved toward the door. Your plan was to have this conversation with me. Well, now we'll have it. He opened the door to reveal Tyler Hendricks. Tall, tanned, dressed in expensive casual wear that screamed aspiring wealth more than actual success. For a moment, Tyler's practiced smile faltered as he registered Owen's presence instead of Lauren's. Owen, he recovered quickly. I thought you'd be out with the kids. Change of plans. Owen stepped aside. Come in. We were just talking about you. Tyler entered with the confidence of a man who believed he held all the cards, the same confidence Owen had seen in opponents who didn't realize they'd already lost. Lauren, Tyler acknowledged with a nod, maintaining a facade of casualness. Thought we agreed on timing. She didn't have much choice, Owen interrupted. Hard to coordinate when your burner phone goes missing. Tyler's eyes widened fractionally before his expression smoothed over. I don't know what you're talking about. Owen pulled the phone from his pocket, tossing it onto the coffee table. 3 years of messages say otherwise. Rather explicit ones at that. The 3 adults stood in a triangle of tension, the comfortable cabin suddenly feeling like a cage. Owen, Lauren found her voice, switching tactics from denial to reasonableness. We didn't want it to happen this way. We were going to tell you tomorrow properly, with dignity. Dignity. Owen laughed, a sound devoid of humor. Is that what you call planning to take my children across state lines, draining our accounts, turning my son against me? Tyler took a step forward, hands raised placatingly. Look, we should all calm down. We're adults here. These things happen. These things, Owen's voice dropped dangerously. You mean being with your wife's sister? Betraying your brother-in-law? Those things. Tyler's jaw tightened. Lauren and I didn't choose this. It just happened, Dash. For 3 years with hotel receipts, secret phones, and an apartment lease in Phoenix. Owen shook his head. That's not just happening. That's calculated betrayal. A creak on the stairs interrupted them. Grace stood halfway down, her small face solemn. Dad, is everything okay? Everything's fine, Princess, Owen assured her. Uncle Tyler just stopped by to talk about grown-up things. Head back upstairs, okay? Grace's eyes moved from her father to her mother to Tyler, understanding more than a child her age should. I told Dad about the phone, she said to Lauren. I'm not sorry. Lauren blanched. Grace, upstairs. Soft. Owen interjected gently. I've got this. After Grace reluctantly retreated, Owen turned back to them. Here's what's going to happen. Tyler, you're going to leave now. Lauren, you can go with him if you want, but the kids stay with me tonight. You can't decide that, Lauren protested. They're my children, too. Should have thought about that before planning to move them to Arizona. Owen replied evenly. Don't worry. We'll sort out custody through proper channels. Unless you'd prefer I call the authorities about the financial improprieties I've discovered. Tyler tensed. What financial improprieties? The ones Erica Hale documented, Owen said, referring to the private investigator. Transfers from Riverstone Capital client accounts to your personal offshore account. Did you think I wouldn't check thoroughly once I knew about the relationship? Tyler paled. You're bluffing. Owen pulled out his phone, displaying a series of transaction records. $300,000 over 20 months. Creative accounting, but not creative enough. The revelation left Tyler speechless. Lauren looked between the 2 men, her carefully constructed future crumbling. You set us up, she accused Owen. This whole cabin trip was your idea. I just played along once Grace showed me what was really happening. Tyler recovered, anger replacing shock. You can't prove anything without exposing your own investigation methods. Private investigators accessing financial records, that's not exactly legal either. I don't need to prove anything in court yet, Owen said evenly. Right now, I just need you both to understand the situation. You're not holding any cards here. He pulled out another document from his jacket pocket. This is a record of every dollar removed from our joint accounts over the past year, funds that were contractually designated for our children's education and our business operations. Lauren's breathing quickened. I had every right to take from your children? Owen finished. A judge might disagree, especially when they see the text discussing how to hide assets during the divorce you were planning. The cabin fell silent except for the distant sound of the movie playing upstairs. Owen let the moment stretch, watching Tyler and Lauren exchange panicked glances. What do you want? Tyler finally asked, his voice tight. Tonight, I want you gone, Owen stated flatly. Tomorrow, my attorney will contact you both with terms. Terms? Lauren echoed. For how this ends, Owen clarified. Because it is ending, make no mistake. Tyler grabbed his car keys. This is, Lauren, get your things. We're leaving. The kids she began. Stay with me, Owen said firmly. Unless you want the authorities questioning why you're fleeing across state lines with minors after withdrawing large sums of money. Tyler headed for the door, his earlier confidence shattered. Lauren now. She hesitated, looking up toward where her children were. For a moment, Owen saw a flicker of maternal concern, quickly overshadowed by self-preservation. I'll call you tomorrow, she told Owen, grabbing her purse. This isn't over. Actually, it is, Owen replied. It ended the moment you involved my children in your betrayal. After they left, the cabin felt eerily quiet. Owen poured another whiskey and called upstairs. Kids, you can come down now. Grace appeared first, followed by Noah, whose red-rimmed eyes revealed he'd been crying. Where's Mom? Noah asked, his voice small. She left with Uncle Tyler, Owen answered honestly. She needed some time to think. Grace climbed onto her father's lap, something she hadn't done in years. Are we staying at the cabin? Owen nodded. For tonight. Tomorrow we'll head home and figure things out. Is Mom coming back? Noah pressed, confusion and hurt evident in his expression. Owen looked his son in the eyes. I don't know, buddy. But no matter what happens between me and your mother, nothing changes how much I love you both. That night, with his children finally asleep, Owen sat on the cabin porch staring at the stars. He'd won the first round, but he harbored no illusions about what was coming. Lauren wouldn't surrender without a fight, and Tyler had too much to lose to back down easily. His phone vibrated with a text from Erica Hale. Additional information secured. Moving to Phase 2 per your instructions. Owen texted back a single word, proceed. The real work was just beginning. The drive back to Denver the following day was heavy with unspoken questions. Noah sat silently in the back seat, headphones on, but no music playing, a shield against conversation. Grace alternated between watching the mountains pass and studying her father's profile, gauging his composure. Owen maintained a steady presence for his children, but his mind raced through the intricate plan he'd set in motion. Erica had been thorough, uncovering layers of deception that went beyond the relationship. The financial trail she'd followed revealed something far more calculated than a simple infidelity. Back at home, Owen found evidence that Lauren had already removed personal items, clothes, jewelry, mementos. She'd been preparing for this split longer than he'd realized. What surprised him was finding the master bedroom closet still containing the custom suit he'd had made for their anniversary, the one she'd insisted he order. Next to it hung a bag containing the dress she'd asked him to buy her as a gift, props for a performance that would never happen. Owen called his longtime friend Aaron Blake, arranging for the children to spend the afternoon with Aaron's family while he attended to urgent business. Aaron, a former Marine who'd served with Owen before they both entered civilian life, understood immediately the gravity of the situation. How bad? Aaron asked when he arrived to pick up the kids. Worse than I thought, Owen replied quietly, making sure Noah and Grace were out of earshot. I need a few hours to set things in motion. Aaron clasped his shoulder firmly. Whatever you need. Jenna will keep the kids distracted with that new pool. Once alone, Owen contacted his attorney, Patrick Mendez, who arrived within the hour carrying a thick folder of documents. Patrick was not just Owen's lawyer, but a strategic partner in several business ventures, a man who understood that legal battles were won before they ever reached a courtroom. Erica sent everything over this morning, Patrick said, spreading papers across the dining room table. It's a mess, Owen, but it gives us leverage. The documents revealed that Tyler had been systematically embezzling from his investment clients for just over 3 years, longer than the relationship had been ongoing. More disturbing was evidence that Lauren had been actively helping him route money through shell companies registered under variations of her maiden name. The money they took from your joint accounts was just the surface, Patrick explained, showing Owen transaction records. They were using your business reputation as cover for something bigger. Owen examined the paperwork, his expression hardening. They were planning to frame me if things went south. Patrick nodded grimly. These duplicate contracts with your company letterhead but subtle differences in the terms. Classic setup for fraud allegations. If their plan had worked, you'd be fighting criminal charges while they disappeared with the assets and the kids. The discovery that his wife had not only betrayed their marriage but had actively participated in setting him up for financial ruin and potential imprisonment ignited something cold and methodical in Owen's mind. Options, he asked simply. Patrick outlined several approaches, from immediate legal action to more strategic countermoves. The problem is, going public means exposing everything, including their allegations against you even fabricated. The investigation alone could damage your business reputation. And the kids would be caught in the crossfire, Owen added, thinking of how Noah was already struggling. They were interrupted by the doorbell. When Owen answered, he found Megan Hendricks on his doorstep, her expression a mixture of fury and anguish. "Where is he?" she demanded, pushing past Owen into the foyer. "Where's my husband?" Owen led her to the living room. Offering her a seat, she refused to take. "I assume you figured it out." "Figured out that my sister and my husband have been dash." Megan couldn't finish the sentence. "Tyler didn't come home last night. Lauren's not answering my calls. Then I found records of an apartment lease in Phoenix with both their names." "When did you discover this?" Owen asked, studying her closely. "This morning," Megan replied, her voice breaking. "I came straight here. I thought maybe it was a mistake, that there was some explanation." "There isn't," Owen interrupted gently. "It's been going on for 3 years, Megan. I only confirmed it myself yesterday." Megan collapsed onto the sofa, her composure crumbling. 3 years? How could I not have seen it? "We see what we expect to see," Owen said, pouring her a glass of water. "The question is, what do you plan to do now?" Her eyes met his, sudden understanding dawning. "You're not just letting them get away with this." "No," Owen confirmed. "I'm not." The conversation with Megan revealed additional pieces of the puzzle. She'd noticed financial discrepancies in their accounts months ago, but Tyler had dismissed her concerns with plausible explanations. She'd also found hotel receipts that Tyler claimed were business trips, the same hotels documented in the messages between him and Lauren. "I feel like such a fool," Megan whispered. "All those times they were together, while we were watching the kids, or working dash, what they did reflects on them, not us." After Megan left, promising to consider Owen's proposal for a united front, he made another call, this time to Curtis Lane, his most trusted project manager. "Curtis, I need you to take over operations for a few weeks," Owen instructed. "Family emergency." "Everything okay, boss?" Curtis asked, concern evident in his voice. "It will be," Owen replied. "But I need to focus on my kids right now." With the business temporarily handled, Owen retrieved the children from Aaron's house. Grace ran to him immediately, wrapping her arms around his waist. Noah hung back, uncertainty written across his features. "Has Mom called?" he asked hopefully. "Not yet, buddy," Owen answered honestly. "But we need to talk about what happens next." That evening, Owen sat both children down and explained as gently as possible that their mother had made choices that meant their family would look different moving forward. He was careful not to condemn Lauren despite his own feelings, knowing the children needed to process the situation without additional burdens. "Are we poor now?" Grace asked suddenly. The question caught Owen off guard. "No, Princess. Why would you think that?" "I heard Mom telling Uncle Tyler that you'd have nothing left," Grace explained, her perceptiveness once again revealing how much she'd observed. "She said you'd lose everything." The innocent revelation of such callous planning strengthened Owen's resolve. His children had been witnessing more than anyone realized, carrying knowledge no child should bear. "We're going to be fine," Owen assured them both. "I promise you that." Later that night, after the children were asleep, Owen received a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Meet tomorrow. Neutral location." It was from Lauren. Owen didn't respond immediately, instead reviewing the comprehensive strategy he and Patrick had developed. The next move was critical, not just for his response, but for protecting his children from the fallout. He finally replied with a time and location. A coffee shop in a busy shopping center where their conversation would need to remain civil. Then he called Erica Hale again. "I need surveillance on a meeting," he instructed. "And I need to know who else Lauren contacts between now and then." Erica's response was professional and immediate. "Already on it. Regarding the financial records you asked about, we found the connection. Sending details now." The information that appeared in Owen's email minutes later confirmed his suspicions. The betrayal went beyond the personal. It was a calculated destruction of everything he'd built, orchestrated by the woman who had once vowed to stand beside him. Owen closed his laptop and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street where he'd built his home and raised his family. The neighbors had no idea of the struggle being waged behind closed doors, the strategic moves and countermoves that would determine not just his future, but his children's as well. Tomorrow would be the first public battle in what promised to be a long campaign. But Owen had something Lauren and Tyler didn't. Absolute clarity about what he was fighting for and what he was willing to sacrifice to win. As he turned from the window, his phone chimed with a message from Patrick. "Documents filed. Clock starts tomorrow." Owen allowed himself a grim smile. Lauren thought she was arranging a negotiation. She had no idea she was walking into an ambush of her own making. Union Station roasters buzzed with morning activity when Owen arrived 12 minutes early for his meeting with Lauren. He chose a table in the corner visible enough to discourage a scene, but private enough for conversation. Erica Hale sat 3 tables away, appearing absorbed in her laptop, but positioned to observe and record if necessary. Owen spotted Lauren the moment she entered. She dressed carefully in a conservative blue dress that projected an image of the wrong party rather than the betrayer. Her eyes scanned the coffee shop, momentarily widening when she noticed Erica before focusing on Owen. "Who's your friend?" Lauren asked as she sat down, nodding toward Erica. "Insurance," Owen replied simply. "You didn't come alone, either." He gestured subtly toward the window where Tyler sat in his Audi Q7 across the street, pretending to be on a phone call, but watching the coffee shop intently. "Tyler is concerned for my safety," Lauren said defensively. "After how you behaved at the cabin." "Let's skip the performance," Owen interrupted. "We both know why we're here." Lauren's carefully composed expression faltered before she regained control. "The children need stability. This hostile approach isn't helping anyone." "Interesting coming from the woman who planned to disappear with them to Arizona," Owen noted. "But you're right about one thing. They do need stability. That's non-negotiable." Lauren leaned forward. "I'm their mother, Owen. Courts favor mothers." "Usually," Owen acknowledged. "But courts also take a dim view of parents involved in financial fraud who attempt to flee state lines with children during divorce proceedings." The color drained from Lauren's face. "You're bluffing." Owen slid a manila envelope across the table. "These were filed with the court this morning. Emergency custody petition based on flight risk and criminal investigation." Lauren opened the envelope with trembling fingers, scanning the documents inside. Her expression shifted from confidence to shock to calculation as she processed the legal maneuver. "This won't stand," she said finally. "We have explanations for everything. Character witnesses. You're just trying to intimidate me." "Am I?" Owen asked mildly. "Page 4 might interest you." The judge granted the temporary order. "I have sole physical custody until the hearing next week. You can have supervised visitation until then." Lauren's composure cracked. "You can't do this. The children need me." "They needed you when you were planning to uproot them from their school, friends, and family for your relationship," Owen countered. "They needed you when you were willing to damage their father to cover your tracks." "It wasn't like that," Lauren protested, lowering her voice as nearby patrons glanced their way. "Tyler and we fell in love. These things happen." "Love doesn't involve embezzlement and fraud," Owen replied evenly. "Or setting up your children's father to take the fall for your crimes." Lauren's eyes darted around the coffee shop, calculating her options. "What do you want, Owen?" "Money. The house, name your price." "I want my children protected," he stated. "I want what's rightfully theirs secured. And I want you and Tyler to face the consequences of your actions." Lauren's expression hardened. "Tyler has connections, powerful ones. You're a contractor with some local success. Owen, Don't overestimate your position. Interesting you should mention his connections, Owen replied, sliding another document across the table. Like Senator Dwyer, whose campaign funds were among those Tyler misappropriated, or Robert Caldwell at Frontier Federal, who's already cooperating with investigators to save himself. The names visibly shook Lauren. How did you dash? Erica is very thorough, Owen explained, nodding toward the PI. And people like Tyler always leave trails when they think they're too clever to be caught. Lauren glanced toward the window where Tyler was now standing beside his vehicle, watching intently. Her hand moved toward her purse. Before you text him to come rescue you, Owen said, you should know that Patrick Mendez is meeting with the district attorney right now. The only question is whether you're going down with Tyler or cutting a deal. A deal? Lauren repeated, her attention suddenly focused. Owen laid out his terms. Lauren would relinquish primary custody, agree to supervised visitation until a psychological evaluation deemed it appropriate for more, surrender all claims to his business assets, and cooperate with authorities regarding Tyler's financial crimes. In exchange, Owen concluded, I won't pursue charges against you directly, provided the money taken from our accounts is returned. The children's college fund specifically. Lauren stared at him, measuring his resolve. And if I refuse? Then the DA gets everything, including evidence of your active participation in the scheme. The text messages where you suggested using my business as cover, the forged documents with my signature that you notarized yourself. For the first time, genuine fear showed in Lauren's eyes. You'd send me to prison, the mother of your children. You were willing to send me there, Owen reminded her. The difference is I'm offering you a way out for the kids' sake, not yours. The coffee shop had grown quieter, as if the other patrons sensed the gravity of the conversation happening in the corner. Lauren's phone buzzed with a text from Tyler, visible on the screen. Everything okay? It's your choice, Owen said, standing to leave. Patrick will contact your attorney with the formal offer. You have 36 hours before we proceed with the criminal complaint. As Owen walked past Erica's table, he gave a subtle nod. She would monitor Lauren, tracking her next moves. Outside, Owen deliberately walked past Tyler's Audi, making eye contact with the man who had helped destroy his marriage. Tyler rolled down his window. This isn't over, Barrett. Actually, for you, it is, Owen replied calmly. The only question is how hard you fall. Back at home, Owen found Aaron supervising the children in the backyard. Noah was showing surprising patience teaching Grace how to shoot baskets, his earlier sullenness temporarily replaced by brotherly affection. How'd it go? Aaron asked as Owen joined him on the patio. Phase 1 complete, Owen answered. Now we wait. The waiting didn't last long. By evening, Owen had received calls from 2 attorneys. Lauren's hastily retained divorce lawyer attempting to negotiate better terms, and Tyler's criminal defense attorney seeking information about what evidence might exist. Owen directed both to Patrick Mendez, maintaining the disciplined approach that had served him throughout his career. When emotional decisions were required, he made them with his children's long-term welfare as the only consideration. For days later, the hammer fell. Federal agents arrested Tyler Hendricks at his office, charging him with wire fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. The news spread quickly through Denver's business community, including to Noah, who learned about it from a classmate's text before Owen could explain. The confrontation that followed tested Owen's resolve to protect his children from the uglier aspects of the situation. You got Uncle Tyler arrested, Noah accused, storming into Owen's home office. Mom called. She said you're trying to destroy them because you're jealous. Owen set aside the contracts he'd been reviewing. Sit down, Noah. No, you're ruining everything, the boy shouted, tears welling in his eyes. Mom says once you calm down we can all be adults about this. She says you're being vindictive. Noah, Owen said firmly. Sit down. Something in his father's tone penetrated Noah's anger. He dropped into the chair opposite the desk, his teenage defiance warring with the respect Owen had always commanded. Uncle Tyler was arrested because he stole money from his clients, Owen explained calmly, including your college fund. That has nothing to do with his relationship with your mother. Mom says you're making it all up, Noah countered, though with less conviction. Owen unlocked his desk drawer and removed a file, sliding it across to his son. These are bank statements showing transfers from your education account to an offshore account in increments. This is your mother's signature authorizing those transfers. Noah stared at the documents, disbelief giving way to confusion. But why would she dash? Because she and Tyler needed money to start their new life? Owen said gently. And they didn't plan on taking financial responsibility for you or your sister once they left. The boy's face crumpled as the reality began to sink in. She told me we were all going to Phoenix, that you were trying to stop us because you were controlling. Owen moved around the desk, kneeling beside his son's chair. I would never stop you from seeing your mother, Noah, but I will stop anyone, including her, from hurting you or Grace. For the first time since the ordeal began, Noah broke down completely, allowing his father to pull him into an embrace. The walls of teenage independence crumbled as he sobbed against Owen's shoulder. I thought it was your fault, he choked out. Mom kept saying, if you weren't so obsessed with work, if you paid more attention to her dash, your mother made her choices, Owen said, holding his son tightly. And now we all have to live with the consequences. But we'll do it together. That night, Owen received the call he'd been anticipating from Patrick. She's accepted the terms. Full custody to you, supervised visitation, financial settlement, as outlined. She's also agreed to cooperate regarding Tyler's case. And Tyler? Owen asked, facing up to 20 years unless he makes a deal, which seems unlikely given the evidence trail. His attorney is still trying to figure out how we got so much documentation so quickly. After hanging up, Owen sat on his back porch, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. The first phase of his plan had succeeded beyond expectations, leveraging the legal system to deliver consequences his betrayers couldn't escape. But financial ruin and legal jeopardy weren't enough. Not for what they'd done to his children. Not for how they'd planned to discard him once he'd served his purpose in their scheme. Owen's phone lit up with a text from Erica Hale. Phase 2 preparations complete. Awaiting your signal. He typed back a single word, tomorrow. The trap had been set. Now it was time to spring it. 3 weeks after Tyler's arrest, the media frenzy had begun to subside. The financial scandal had made headlines across Colorado. Prominent investment advisor arrested. Wealthy clients defrauded. Connections to political figures exposed. Tyler remained in federal custody, denied bail due to flight risk after prosecutors revealed the Arizona apartment lease and evidence of inquiries about non-extradition countries. Lauren had retreated to a small rented condo across town. Her social media accounts suddenly fell silent after years of curated posts showcasing their perfect family life. Her cooperation with authorities had spared her criminal charges, but her reputation in their social circle was destroyed. The carefully crafted image she'd maintained had shattered, revealing the calculated manipulator beneath. Owen had maintained a dignified silence throughout, focused on stabilizing his children's lives and ensuring his business continued to operate smoothly. To the outside world, he appeared to be the wronged husband, handling adversity with admirable restraint. Exactly the impression he wanted to create. Few understood that Owen was merely setting the stage for what came next. On a rainy Tuesday morning, Owen sat in Patrick Mendez's office reviewing final paperwork for the divorce settlement. Lauren had relinquished nearly everything in exchange for immunity and a modest monthly stipend that would allow her to maintain a middle-class lifestyle far from the luxury she'd become accustomed to, but better than a prison cell. She signed everything, Patrick confirmed, sliding the documents across his desk. Full custody is yours, with supervised visitation twice monthly until the family court evaluator approves a change. Owen nodded, signing where indicated. Any word from her attorney about the visitation schedule? That's the interesting part, Patrick replied, leaning back in his chair. She's requested a delay of the first visit. Claims she needs time to process everything before seeing the children. Process her failure, you mean? Owen said coolly. Delay granted. The kids need stability right now, not her dramatics. After concluding the meeting, Owen drove to a nondescript office building on the outskirts of Denver where Erica operated her investigation firm. Unlike her online profile suggested, her actual operation occupied the entire top floor, a sophisticated command center staffed by former intelligence and law enforcement professionals. The final surveillance reports, Erica said without preamble as Owen entered her private office. She slid a tablet across her desk, displaying photos of Lauren meeting with various individuals over the past 3 weeks. She's reached out to 7 of Tyler's former associates, all of whom declined further contact after initial meetings. She's looking for leverage, Owen observed, scanning through the images. Or money, Erica nodded. Most interesting is this one. She swiped to a photo of Lauren with an older, well-dressed man outside an upscale restaurant. Harold Whitman, real estate developer with connections to the same political circles Tyler exploited. Has she made any progress with him? 3 meetings so far, Erica confirmed. Our sources indicate she's offering information in exchange for help. Owen's expression remained impassive. Information about what? About you. Erica pulled up an audio file. We managed to capture portions of their last conversation. She's suggesting she has evidence that you were complicit in some of Tyler's schemes, that you turned on them when you discovered the relationship, but were originally a willing participant. The recording played Lauren's voice clearly. Owen knew more than he's admitting. I can prove it if you help me get back on my feet. She's desperate, Erica commented. Making claims she can't substantiate but potentially damaging nonetheless, Owen replied. Especially to the business if clients get nervous. Erica studied him carefully. You anticipated this. I anticipated everything, Owen confirmed, including what comes next. From his briefcase, Owen withdrew a sealed envelope, which he placed on Erica's desk. This contains final payment for your services plus the bonus we discussed. Your work has been exemplary. Erica didn't touch the envelope. Phase 2 moves forward tonight. Yes, Owen said simply. Everything is prepared. Erica nodded, pulling up a detailed file on her computer. Your friend Aaron has handled the physical arrangements as specified. The digital infrastructure is in place. Timing will be critical. It always is, Owen replied, standing to leave. One chance to do this right. That evening, Owen maintained his normal routine with the children dinner at home, helping with homework, Grace's bedtime story, a brief conversation with Noah about his upcoming basketball tournament. The domesticity provided both cover and motivation for what would follow once the house was quiet. At precisely 11:30 p.m., after verifying both children were asleep, Owen went to his home office and initiated a secure connection on a laptop that wasn't connected to his home network. The screen displayed a simple interface with a countdown timer and the message, Operation Active, awaiting confirmation. Owen typed a 6-digit authorization code and pressed enter. The screen changed to display multiple video feeds, Lauren's condo exterior, the building lobby, and the hallway outside her unit. A separate window showed a GPS tracker indicating Harold Whitman was at his home across town. Owen sent a text to an unlisted number. Proceed. Minutes later, a maintenance van appeared on the condo surveillance feed. 2 men in uniform exited, carrying toolboxes into the building. Through the lobby camera, Owen watched as they spoke briefly with the night security guard, who nodded and buzzed them through after examining their credentials. These weren't ordinary maintenance workers. They were former military operatives now working in private security associates of Aaron's who specialized in discreet operations. Their objective tonight wasn't theft or violence, but something far more valuable, information. For 45 minutes, Owen monitored their progress through the surveillance system as they executed a flawless entry into Lauren's condo while she was out meeting friends, a gathering Erica had confirmed would last until at least 1 a.m. The men systematically photographed documents, cloned electronic devices, and installed nearly undetectable monitoring equipment before departing as efficiently as they had arrived. At 12:32 a.m., Owen's phone chimed with a message, package secured. By morning, Owen had access to everything: Lauren's new email accounts, text messages, financial records, and, most importantly, the fabricated evidence she was planning to use against him. The documents were clearly altered versions of legitimate business contracts with Barrett Builders, modified to implicate him in Tyler's schemes. What Lauren didn't realize was that the original unaltered documents were stored in blockchain-verified digital vaults that established their authenticity and timestamp. Her clumsy forgeries would only serve to incriminate her further if she attempted to use them. But Owen had no intention of waiting for that to happen. The information gathered provided the final pieces he needed to complete his strategy, including details of Lauren's upcoming meeting with Harold Whitman, where she planned to present her false evidence in exchange for financial backing to restart her life. At 7:30 a.m., Owen called Aaron. It's time for the final phase. Are your people ready? On standby, Aaron confirmed. Erica sent over the intel package this morning. Clean operation, just like we planned. Good, Owen replied. Execution begins tomorrow at 4 p.m. I'll handle Whitman personally. Aaron paused before asking, Are you sure about this, Owen? Once we cross this line dash, they crossed it first. Owen interrupted, his voice cold with finality. When they tried to tamper with my children's future. When they plotted to frame me. When they betrayed everything I built. Understood, Aaron acknowledged. We'll be ready. That afternoon, Owen attended Noah's basketball game, cheered at Grace's dance recital, and hosted a small birthday celebration for her with a few friends from school. To anyone observing, he was simply a devoted father rebuilding his family's life after betrayal, not a man orchestrating an elaborate trap about to snap shut on those who had wronged him. As he tucked Grace into bed that night, she asked the question that had been lingering unspoken between them. Dad, is Mom ever coming back home? Owen smoothed her hair gently. No, Princess. Mama's made different choices for her life now. Grace considered this with a solemnity beyond her years. Is it because she loves Uncle Tyler more than us? The question cut through Owen's carefully maintained control, exposing the raw wound beneath. Your mom loves you, Grace. She just made mistakes that can't be undone. Like when I broke your special picture frame and tried to hide it. Owen smiled sadly. Bigger mistakes than that. Adult mistakes. Grace nodded as if this explanation satisfied her. I'm glad you're not going anywhere, Daddy. Never, Owen promised, kissing her forehead. Not ever. After both children were asleep, Owen returned to his home office where the surveillance feeds from Lauren's condo showed her pacing anxiously while on the phone. The directional microphones installed the previous night captured her conversation clearly. Tomorrow at 4, Harold. Yes, I have everything prepared. No, Owen has no idea. The documents prove he knew everything Tyler was doing. Yes, enough leverage to force a renegotiation of the settlement. Owen allowed himself a cold smile as he activated the final protocol on his secure laptop. A countdown timer appeared, 18 hours and 24 minutes, counting down to tomorrow afternoon. The spider had built his web. Now it was time for the flies to become entangled. The Langford Hotel's lobby exuded old-world luxury. Marble floors, mahogany paneling, discreet staff who recognized wealth and power without needing to be told. At 3:45 p.m., Owen sat in one of the high-backed leather chairs, a perfect vantage point to observe both the main entrance and the elevators leading to the private meeting rooms upstairs. He wore a tailored charcoal suit that projected successful businessman rather than construction contractor, an image he rarely cultivated, but could effortlessly embody when necessary. A Wall Street Journal lay folded beside him, untouched. His attention was focused on the hotel's revolving door. At precisely 3:52 p.m., Lauren entered. She had dressed carefully for the occasion. Conservative navy dress, understated jewelry, hair styled to project competence rather than her usual calculated glamour. The portfolio clutched in her manicured hands contained what she believed was her Salvation Doctor documents implicating Owen and Tyler's schemes. Owen watched as she approached the reception desk, confirming her meeting with Harold Whitman in Executive Suite 3. The receptionist directed her to the elevators with a practiced smile. Lauren didn't notice Owen as she passed within 15 feet of where he sat too, focused on rehearsing whatever pitch she had prepared. Once she disappeared into the elevator, Owen checked his phone, where a secure messaging app displayed an update from Aaron. All assets in position. Whitman arrived through service entrance 10 minutes ago. Owen responded with, proceeding as planned. At 4:10 p.m., Owen took the elevator to the 3rd floor, nodding to the plainclothes security officer stationed near the emergency exit, another of Aaron's associates, ensuring that events unfolded without interruption. The hallway was deserted except for a maintenance cart positioned strategically outside Executive Suite 3, seemingly abandoned by hotel staff, but actually containing surveillance equipment monitoring the meeting inside. Owen approached the suite, withdrawing an electronic key card provided by the hotel's head of security, a former client who owed Owen a significant favor. He paused, listening to the voices inside through an earpiece connected to the surveillance system. These documents clearly show Owen Barrett's signature authorizing transactions related to the diverted funds, Lauren was saying, her voice confident. He was fully aware of Tyler's activities, but turned on him when he discovered our relationship. Harold Whitman's response was measured, skeptical. These are serious allegations, Ms. Barrett. If authentic, they contradict the narrative that's been established in the media and with prosecutors. That's why they're valuable, Lauren pressed. Owen has cultivated this image of the wronged husband, the dedicated father victimized by his wife and brother-in-law. These prove otherwise. And what exactly do you want from me in exchange for this information? Whitman asked. Financial backing to restart my life, Lauren replied without hesitation. And your connections to force a renegotiation of my divorce settlement. The trap was set. Owen swiped the key card, entering the suite without knocking. Lauren's face registered shock, then fear, as Owen walked calmly into the room. Whitman, a silver-haired man in his 60s with the weathered features of someone comfortable with power, showed only mild surprise. I believe I'm right on time, Owen said pleasantly, as if he'd been invited. Owen, Lauren gasped, instinctively gathering the documents spread across the table. Mr. Whitman and I have mutual interests, Owen interrupted, extending his hand to the older man. Thank you for arranging this meeting. Whitman stood, shaking Owen's hand firmly. Mr. Barrett, your reputation precedes you. Lauren looked between the two men, comprehension dawning slowly. You know each other? Not personally until today, Owen clarified, taking a seat at the table. But Mr. Whitman contacted my attorney yesterday after you approached him with your proposition. The color drained from Lauren's face. Harold, whatever he's told you, please dash. Whitman raised a hand, silencing her. I've known Gregory Hendricks, Tyler's father, for decades. When his daughter-in-law approached me claiming to have evidence contradicting everything the authorities have established, I did my due diligence. This is a setup, Lauren accused, standing abruptly. I'm leaving. I wouldn't, Owen advised calmly. Not unless you want to explain those forged documents to the federal agents currently waiting in the lobby. As if on cue, Owen's phone displayed a text from Erica, agents on standby. Evidence package delivered. Lauren sank back into her chair, the reality becoming clear. You planned this. I planned for everything, Owen corrected, including your attempts to frame me after your own immunity deal was secured. Whitman leaned forward. Ms. Barrett, I agreed to this meeting not to help you, but to understand the full extent of the situation affecting a family I've known for years. What I've witnessed today confirms everything Mr. Barrett told me, which is, Lauren challenged, that you're willing to destroy anyone, including the father of your children, to save yourself, Whitman stated flatly. The documents you presented are obvious forgeries. Coming here today wasn't just foolish. It constitutes attempted fraud and violates your immunity agreement. Owen placed his own folder on the table. These are the original, blockchain-verified contracts with immutable timestamps. Alongside them are records of your activities since Tyler's arrest, including your meetings with his former associates and your explicit statements about fabricating evidence against me. Lauren's facade finally crumbled. What do you want from me, Owen? Haven't you taken enough? I've taken nothing that wasn't rightfully mine or our children's, Owen replied, his voice devoid of emotion. But you're right. This meeting isn't about taking more. It's about ensuring you understand your position going forward. He slid a document across the table, a modified custody agreement, with terms even more restrictive than the original. You'll sign this now, relinquishing all visitation rights until a court-appointed psychiatrist certifies you're no longer a detrimental influence on our children. You'll also sign a sworn affidavit confirming that the documents you presented today are forgeries created by you alone. And if I refuse? Lauren asked, though her voice lacked conviction. Then Mr. Whitman will testify about this meeting. The federal agents downstairs will receive the evidence of your attempted fraud, and your immunity deal will be voided, Owen stated matter-of-factly. You'll join Tyler in federal custody by nightfall. Whitman stood, buttoning his suit jacket. I've seen enough, Mr. Barrett. I'll leave you to conclude your business. My statement has been recorded as agreed. He nodded toward a small device on the table that had been disguised as a pen holder. After Whitman departed, Owen and Lauren sat in silence for several moments. The once beautiful woman who had shared his bed for 16 years now looked hollow, her careful makeup unable to hide the growing lines of stress and fear. You've thought of everything, she finally said, reaching for the documents with trembling hands. Not everything, Owen replied. I never thought you'd try to take my children from me. I never thought you'd attempt to destroy everything I built. Those were your innovations. As Lauren signed the papers, tears finally breaking through her composed facade, she asked the question that had clearly been haunting her. Did you ever love me, Owen? Really love me? Owen considered the question carefully. I loved who I thought you were. That person never existed. Once the documents were signed, Owen gathered them into his briefcase. The agents downstairs have been instructed to escort you home. Your belongings will be delivered to your sister's house in Steamboat Springs tomorrow. You're not to return to Denver without written permission from the court. Megan won't take me in, Lauren protested. Not after everything. She's your sister, Owen replied dispassionately. And unlike you, she understands family loyalty. The arrangement is already made. As Owen prepared to leave, Lauren made one final, desperate attempt. The children will ask for me. Grace will cry for her mother. Owen paused at the door, allowing himself one moment of genuine emotion. Yes, they will. And that pain, their pain that you caused, is something I can never forgive. Not if I lived 1,000 years. The hotel corridor was empty as Owen walked toward the elevator, his footsteps echoing on the marble floor. Inside the elevator, he allowed himself 10 seconds to close his eyes, exhaling slowly, releasing the tension of the confrontation. When the doors opened to the lobby, he was composed once more. Erica Hale waited near the hotel entrance, pretending to review documents on a tablet. As Owen approached, she fell into step beside him without acknowledging him directly. Tyler received the evidence package at the detention center an hour ago, she murmured. His attorney has already contacted the prosecutors about a potential deal. Too late, Owen replied, his voice barely audible. And the senator withdrew his support this morning. No deals. Outside, Aaron waited with the car, opening the door as Owen approached. Once all three were inside and moving through downtown traffic, Aaron asked, Is it done? Owen nodded, loosening his tie. It's done. She's finished. And the children? Erica inquired. We'll never have to see her again unless they choose to when they're older, Owen answered. The psychiatric evaluation requirement ensures that no judge will override it, given the evidence we've assembled. The car traveled through the city toward Owen's home, where Mrs. Whitfield, an older widow from the neighborhood who had become the children's after-school caretaker, would be preparing dinner with Grace's help and monitoring Noah's homework. As Denver's skyline receded in the rearview mirror, Owen reflected on the past month's events: the discovery, the betrayal, the calculated response. He had dismantled the conspiracy against him, turning his enemies' weapons back upon themselves. Some might view his actions as excessive, even cruel. But those people hadn't seen Grace's tears when she realized her mother had been willing to abandon her. They hadn't witnessed Noah's confusion and pain upon discovering the lies he'd been told. They hadn't felt the cold determination that came from knowing your children's future had been bargained away by the people who should have protected them most. Any regrets? Aaron asked quietly as they turned into Owen's neighborhood. Owen watched as his home came into view, lights glowing warmly in the windows, Grace bicycle propped against the garage door, the basketball hoop where he and Noah had recently begun reconnecting during evening games. Not a single one, he answered with absolute certainty. The spider had sprung his trap. The web had held. Justice cold, implacable justice had been served. 7 months later, the Denver morning dawned crisp and clear, sunlight glinting off fresh snow that had fallen overnight. Owen stood at the kitchen window, coffee in hand, watching Grace and Noah build a snowman in the backyard. Their laughter drifted through the glass, a sound that had become increasingly common as the wounds of betrayal slowly healed. The doorbell rang, announcing the arrival of Patrick Mendez for their quarterly review meeting. Owen greeted his attorney with a firm handshake, leading him to the home office, where financial statements and legal documents were already arranged on the desk. The business is thriving, Patrick observed, reviewing the quarterly reports. 3 new major contracts since New Year's. The scandal hasn't affected your reputation after all. If anything, it enhanced it, Owen replied, taking his seat behind the desk. Clients appreciate knowing who they're dealing with, someone who won't tolerate dishonesty at any level. Patrick nodded, moving to the more personal matters. Tyler's sentencing is next week. Prosecutors are pushing for the maximum 25 years, given the scope of the fraud and the number of victims. Good, Owen said simply. And Lauren's still in Steamboat Springs with Megan, Patrick confirmed. The court-appointed psychiatrist submitted his third evaluation yesterday. He slid a folder across the desk. He continues to recommend against resuming visitation, cites her persistent attempts to shift blame and inability to acknowledge the damage her actions caused to the children. Owen reviewed the report without visible emotion, though internally he felt a grim satisfaction. The system he had carefully manipulated was continuing to deliver exactly the outcome he had designed. She's requested another hearing, Patrick continued. Judge Raines has denied it, says he needs to see substantial change before reconsidering the custody arrangement. Which won't happen, Owen noted. Not with what we know about her continuing contacts with Tyler through intermediaries. Patrick raised an eyebrow. Erica is still monitoring. Some things are worth the ongoing expense, Owen replied. The children's safety isn't negotiable. After concluding their business, Owen walked Patrick to the door. As they passed the living room, Patrick paused to look at the family photos on the mantel, new ones showing Owen with the children at various activities, their faces happier and more relaxed than in earlier pictures. You've rebuilt well, Patrick observed. Not many could have managed this outcome from such a disaster. Owen's expression remained neutral. I protected what matters. Nothing more. After Patrick's departure, Owen joined his children in the backyard. Grace immediately dragged him into their snowman construction project, directing him to find suitable sticks for arms while Noah worked on packing snow for the head. Dad, can we invite Aaron and his family for dinner tonight? Noah asked, his relationship with Owen having strengthened considerably over the months. The boy who had once been sullen and distant now sought his father's approval and company regularly. Sure, Owen agreed, helping position the snowman's head. I'll call him after we finish this masterpiece. Grace worked with serious concentration, her creativity flourishing in the months since the separation. The therapist Owen had engaged for both children had noted her resilience, along with her tendency to process emotions through art and imaginative play. Dad, does Mom ever ask about us? She asked suddenly, catching Owen off guard with the directness of the question. Owen crouched to her level, choosing his words carefully. She does. She asks the judge and the doctors when she can see you again. But she doesn't call, Grace observed, or send letters. The court has rules about that right now, Owen explained, maintaining the careful narrative he'd established. Remember, Dr. Alvarez talked about this. Mom needs to get better first. Grace considered this, then nodded solemnly. Like when you're sick and have to take all your medicine before you can go back to school. Something like that, Owen agreed, relieved at her acceptance of the explanation. Noah, now 14 and a half, wasn't as easily satisfied. Later that evening, after dinner with Aaron's family, he approached Owen in the study where Owen was reviewing plans for a new project. I found articles online, Noah said without preamble, about Mom and Tyler about what they did. Owen set aside the blueprints, giving his son his full attention. I see. What questions do you have? They stole money, Noah stated. From lots of people, and they were going to blame you for it. Yes, Owen confirmed, seeing no reason to shield his son from facts he'd already discovered. They were. Noah struggled visibly with his next question. Would Mom really have let you go to prison while she and Tyler took us to Arizona? Owen considered softening the truth but decided against it. Noah deserved honesty. The evidence suggests that was their plan. Yes. The boy sat heavily in the leather chair opposite Owen's desk, processing this confirmation of his mother's betrayal. How can someone change like that? She was our mom. She used to make pancakes on Sundays and help with school projects. People are complicated, Noah, Owen replied carefully. Sometimes they hide parts of themselves for years. Sometimes they change when tempted by things they think they want more than what they have. Did you hate her? Noah asked, when you found out? Owen paused, considering the depth of emotion he'd experienced in those first days after the discovery. I was angry, disappointed, hurt, but mostly I was focused on protecting you and Grace by making sure she couldn't hurt you anymore. By making sure she couldn't see us anymore, Noah said. By making sure she couldn't hurt you anymore, Owen corrected gently. There's a difference. Noah nodded slowly. I used to be mad at you for breaking up our family, for making Mom leave. I know, Owen acknowledged. That was a normal reaction. But it wasn't your fault, Noah continued, meeting his father's eyes directly. You didn't break anything. They did. The simple statement, delivered with teenage directness, struck Owen more powerfully than he expected. For months, he had executed his carefully calibrated response without allowing himself to fully process the emotional aftermath. Hearing his son's absolution broke something loose inside him, not forgiveness for those who had betrayed him, but perhaps the beginning of freedom from the cold resolve that had driven him. "Thank you for saying that," Owen said quietly. Later that night, after both children were asleep, Owen sat on the back porch despite the cold, staring at the stars visible through breaks in the clouds. His phone buzzed with a text from Erica Hale. "Final surveillance contract expires tomorrow. Renew?" Owen considered the question. For 7 months, he had maintained comprehensive monitoring of Lauren's activities, partly as insurance against further schemes, partly as the final expression of his need for control in a situation that had once threatened to destroy everything. After several minutes of reflection, he typed his response: "No renewal needed. Final report sufficient." The decision wasn't forgiveness. Owen Barrett did not forgive betrayal, but it was acknowledgement that the victory was complete. Lauren and Tyler would never recover from the destruction he had engineered. Their consequences would continue without his active participation. The next morning brought news that Tyler Hendricks had attempted suicide in his cell after receiving word that his final appeal for leniency had been rejected. He survived, but would face his sentencing confined to the prison medical ward. Owen received the information from Aaron with the same impassive expression he had maintained throughout the ordeal. "Keep me updated," was his only response. At the construction site of his newest project later that day, a community center he had partly funded himself, Owen surveyed the progress with satisfaction. The foundation was solid, the framework rising true and strong against the Colorado sky. Curtis Lane approached, hard hat in hand. "Structure's looking good, boss. We're ahead of schedule despite the weather." "Excellent," Owen nodded. "The children's wing is our priority. I want the roof sealed before the next storm system." As they walked the site, discussing technical details and material deliveries, Owen found himself genuinely engaged in the work for the first time in months. The constant vigilance, the execution of his plan, had consumed mental energy he could now redirect toward building rather than dismantling. That evening, as he helped Grace with her science project, a model of the solar system that had overtaken the dining room table, he received a call from Megan Hendricks. He stepped into the hallway to take it, his guard immediately raised. "Owen," Megan's voice was strained. "I thought you should hear this from me first. Lauren's gone." "Gone where?" he asked sharply. "No one knows," Megan replied. "She left a note saying she couldn't live with what she'd done anymore, took her passport and the cash she had saved. The police are looking, but when did this happen?" "Last night," Megan said, after she heard about Tyler's suicide attempt. "I've already notified the court through her attorney." After ending the call, Owen stood motionless in the hallway, absorbing the news. Lauren's disappearance was the final act in their tragedy, neither victory nor defeat, but simply conclusion. "Dad," Grace called from the dining room. "I need help with Neptune's rings." "Coming, princess," he replied, setting aside thoughts of Lauren to focus on the daughter who needed him now. In the weeks that followed, life settled into new patterns. The police classified Lauren as a missing person but found no evidence of foul play. International border records eventually confirmed she had entered Mexico, then seemingly vanished, likely using the false identification documents Tyler had once procured for their planned escape. Owen explained her disappearance to the children as compassionately as possible, framing it as another symptom of their mother's problems rather than final abandonment. The family therapist helped them process their feelings while Owen remained the constant, unfailing presence in their daily lives. 1 year to the day after the fateful trip to the cabin, Owen stood in his backyard watching his children play with neighborhood friends. A barbecue sizzled nearby, attended by Aaron and his wife, while other guests, colleagues, neighbors, parents of the children's friends mingled on the patio. Erica Hale appeared at his side, a rare social appearance for the usually private investigator. "Quite a transformation," she observed, nodding toward Noah laughing with friends. A dramatic change from the angry, withdrawn boy of a year earlier. "Children are resilient when they have stability," Owen replied. "And their father, is he resilient too?" she asked perceptively. Owen considered the question seriously. He was interrupted as Grace ran to show him her latest artwork, a family portrait showing just the three of them standing together under a bright sun. I'm exactly who I need to be, he told Erica, accepting Grace's drawing with genuine appreciation. Someone who protects what matters, whatever it takes. The evening wound down as the sun set over Denver, casting long shadows across the yard where a new life had been carefully constructed from the ruins of betrayal. Guests departed with warm goodbyes. The children helped clean up without complaint, and the household settled into its comfortable routine. Later, alone in his study, Owen unlocked a drawer that contained the final surveillance report on Lauren, the last trace of the woman who had nearly destroyed everything he valued. After a moment's hesitation, he fed the pages into the shredder, watching as they disintegrated into unrecoverable fragments. The action wasn't forgiveness. Owen Barrett did not forgive betrayal, but it was acknowledgement that justice cold, complete, and devastating had been served. The past was finally where it belonged, behind them, while he faced forward with his children beside him. In the quiet of the evening, Owen closed the drawer on the remnants of what had been and turned toward what would be a future built with the same precision with which he had dismantled those who had dared to threaten what was his. Some would call it merciless. He simply called it justice. Cold justice. That's the end of today's story. If you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments. We read them all. And thanks for watching. You're always welcome here.